You wake up at 2 a.m., stumble to the kitchen in the dark, and drink straight from the tap without a second thought. No boiling, no straining through cloth, no smelling it first to check if it's turned, no gambling that the water won't be why you're dead by next week. For nearly all of the 300,000 years Homo sapiens has existed, that glass of water was one of the deadliest objects on Earth. Clean water is invisible to you now, piped in underground, filtered, tested daily by strangers whose entire job is keeping it from killing you, and you never think about any of it. Ancient humans had none of that. Just a river, a hole in the ground, an instinct standing between them, and a slow, agonizing death. Dysentery, parasites, waterborne infection, the same water that kept you alive was, more often than not, also trying to kill you. So how did they survive hundreds of thousands of years without a single water treatment plant, without even knowing bacteria existed? The answer isn't one invention. It's a chain of them, stretching across 3 continents and 60,000 years, and it starts with something you'd never expect: an egg. In 2010, archaeologist Pierre-Jean Texier and his team excavated Deep Kloof rock shelter on South Africa's Western Cape. Buried in the sediment, 270 fragments of ostrich eggshell, each one deliberately engraved with cross-hatched lines, dated to 60,000 years old. These weren't decorations, they were water bottles. A single ostrich egg holds close to 1.5 liters, enough to matter when the nearest spring is a day's walk away. Engraved, sealed, and carried, these eggs are the oldest known purpose-built containers on Earth. Researchers believe the different patterns marked ownership, a way of saying whose water was whose long before anyone could write a name. In a landscape, without maps, that distinction could be the difference between rationing carefully and dying of thirst on the walk home. For context, 60,000 years ago, humans had no pottery, no metal, no wheel, no writing anywhere on Earth. What they had was an engineered water container, good enough that its basic logic, seal it, mark it, carry it, is still how you carry water today. So carrying water was solved early. But where were they supposed to find water that wouldn't kill them in the first place? By around 8300 BC, some communities weren't just carrying water, they were engineering access to it. On Cyprus, archaeologist Edgar Peltenberg and his team uncovered a site called Kisanerga Miluthkia, home to some of the oldest confirmed water wells on the planet. The wells ran 8 to 9 meters straight down through rock and soil, dug by hand, with nothing but stone tools and raw persistence. That's the depth of a 3-story building, hollowed out with no metal, no pulley, no light to work by. Archaeologists have identified multiple wells at the site, dug across generations. Not one lucky strike, but a sustained, repeated effort. It meant something simple and enormous. These early farmers understood that water sitting in the open, exposed to animals, algae, and rot, was more dangerous than water pulled from far underground, long before anyone could explain why. Everyone pictures early humans hunched over a river, cupping water in their hands. The truth is stranger. Some of the very first large engineering projects in human history weren't built for food, shelter, or defense. They were built to outrun contamination itself. Fast forward several thousand years to the Maya city of Tikal, in what's now northern Guatemala. In 2020, University of Cincinnati archaeologist Kenneth Barnett Tankersley and his team analyzed sediment from the Corriental Reservoir and found something that didn't belong there: crystalline quartz and zeolite, minerals that don't occur naturally anywhere near the city. They'd been hauled in from ridges roughly 18 miles away. Zeolite forms a natural molecular sieve, the same material still used in modern water filters, and the Maya packed it against the reservoir's edge to strip out microbes, toxic algae blooms, and mercury runoff washing in from their own decorative red paint. Without it, that reservoir was exactly the kind of standing water that breeds cyanobacteria, the kind that can sicken or kill in a single bad rainy season. 6 radiocarbon dates put the system at around 2,185 years old, making it the oldest known water filtration system anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. Everyone assumes advanced filtration is a 20th century invention, something born in a laboratory. It isn't. The Maya were running drinking water through a molecular sieve 2,000 years before anyone had a word for a molecule, and they got there by watching what worked, not by theory. So the engineering existed. But did every civilization need to invent its own version? Not quite. Some just paid for one, wagon load by wagon load. Around 440 BC, the Greek historian Herodotus wrote about the Achaemenid kings of Persia, ruling from the city of Susa on the Coaspes River. According to his account, the king drank only water carried from that river, and wherever he traveled, a line of 4-wheeled wagons followed him, loaded with silver jars carrying it, pre-boiled and sealed for the journey. Silver ions are now known to disrupt bacterial cell walls and stop microbes from reproducing. The same antimicrobial property hospitals still rely on in wound dressings today. The Persians didn't know any of that chemistry. They knew water kept in silver stayed drinkable for months, while water kept in clay or skin turned foul within days, and across roughly 220 years of Achaemenid rule. That observation was reason enough to keep doing it, no explanation required. Everyone assumes germ theory had to exist before people could protect themselves from germs. It didn't. Entire civilizations built working defenses against invisible killers centuries before anyone knew those killers were real. So wells, filters, and silver jars kept people alive. But was any of that really the first line of defense? Here's the part almost nobody expects. None of it was. The real filter was never a material at all. It was a feeling. In 2001, disease researcher Valerie Curtis, working with Adam Baron at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, proposed that disgust itself evolved as a survival system. Across cultures on nearly every continent they studied, people recoiled from the same handful of triggers: the smell of stagnant water, the sheen of algae, anything with the sour reek of decay. That revulsion isn't squeamishness. It's a reflex, wired in before language, before tools, before any of the engineering that came after it. Automatic, instant, and running underneath every choice a person makes about what to drink and what to avoid. Every well, every filter, every silver jar was built on top of an alarm system that had already been running quietly for hundreds of thousands of years. Technology didn't replace instinct out there. It backed it up. So picture that glass of water again, the one from the tap, at 2 a.m. that you drank without a second thought. Behind that small convenience sits 300,000 years of humans fighting their own thirst. Eggshells engraved and sealed, wells sunk by hand into rock, stone hauled 18 miles on foot, silver wagons trailing a king, and an instinct older than any of it. We didn't outgrow that fight. We just handed it to someone else, to pipes, treatment plants, and people we'll never meet, whose names we'll never know and whose work we'll never notice, right up until the day it fails. The species that once judged water safe or deadly by smell alone now needs a printed label to trust what's in the bottle. We didn't defeat thirst. We just made it someone else's job.